Can you tell me, can men get pregnant?
Unless you know something.
You've referred to mothers as birthing persons, replacing that title to be more inclusive, like you're trying to include another gender, and unscientific and absurd.
How so?
To include men in that. If you're going life-altering decisions to maim themselves.
Say to you is children know much about themselves.
These mastectomies, penectomies, or hysterectomies on children.
Well,
and have taxpayers funded that?
I believe that they, along with their parents and their caregivers, will make the best decisions. And I would really urge that politicians like you stay out of their business.
皆さん知ってましたか？男性も妊娠できるらしいですよ。こんにちは皆さん。頼むぜアメリカのエディタです。今回は下院予算委員会で共和党のボーバート議員が保健福祉省のザビエル議員に対して男性も妊娠できるのかという質問をしている場面について翻訳しましたので一緒に見ていきましょう。ではどうぞ。
Can you define for this committee what is a man?
You're looking at one.
Great. So you are a man. I like that. Can you tell me, can men get pregnant?
Unless you know something I don't, I think the answer is pretty obvious.
What is that answer, sir?
I'm asking you, is there something you know that I don't know that would say that a man...
Well, I'm asking what you know. Can men get pregnant?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Secretary, materials coming from your department, you've referred to mothers as birthing persons, replacing that title with...
Are mothers not persons?
Mothers are persons, but it seems to be more inclusive, like you're trying to include another gender in that.
I'm all about inclusion, Congresswoman.
There you go. Well, you know, just as a mother of 4 boys, I'm not necessarily offended at that. I am a person, but it's just unscientific and absurd.
How so?
To include men in that. If you're going to be inclusive, if you're going to be inclusive in birthing persons, yes.
Well, but it seems to me that you're trying to define
Let's back up.
the term.
Reclaiming my time. Can men get pregnant? So then we don't need to include them in this. Mothers are mothers. Moving forward, Mr. Secretary, I want to read for you from a document from your office, the Office of Population Affairs. It says in here, and I quote, "Gender-affirming care encompasses many facets of healthcare needs and support. It has been shown to increase positive outcomes for transgender and non-binary children." Mr. Secretary, what is a transgender child?
A child in America is a child in America, and I hope you and I can love that child just as much as we
Can you
love our own
define what a
children.
transgender child is?
That's a child in America, and it's an American citizen child who needs the services and love just the way any other child does.
Mr. Secretary, do you believe that a child is capable of making life-altering decisions to maim themselves?
So let me just say to you that I don't agree with your premise, but what I will say to you is children know much about themselves, and with the help of
Do
their...
you believe that children are capable of making the decision to self-mutilate?
Again, I don't necessarily accept the
Well,
premise of your
Mr. Secretary, I
question.
mean, you have gender-affirming care for young people, so this is something that
I
you
don't
have looked
equate
over.
gender-affirming care to mutilation. So if that's where you're going, then you're not going to get the answer you want.
So, Mr. Secretary here, can you tell me if there have been mastectomies, mastectomies, penectomies, or hysterectomies on children?
Well,
And have taxpayers funded that?
so I could probably use the help of my wife, who's an OBGYN, who could talk more, or maybe Dr. Burgess could help us out here.
For gender-affirming care, to be included in that?
I'm sorry, pose the question one more time, please.
In this gender-affirming care, Mr. Secretary, have there been tax dollars put forward to fund mastectomies, penectomies, and hysterectomies for sex reassignment purposes for minors with gender dysphoria?
So Americans are entitled to receive health care services. If they are entitled to receive any of the services that you just mentioned, then it would be against the law for us to try to deny them that care.
So for the record, you favor HHS's funding being able for sex reassignment, for surgeries on minors.
I will do everything I can to defend any American, including children, whether or not they fit the categories you have mentioned or not, and if they talk about gender-affirming care, I am there to protect the rights of any American.
Mr. Secretary, I want to turn to a different document. Your office released this gender-affirming care is trauma-informed care. In this document, you clearly state that gender-affirming care includes puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries for minor children. You go on to assure parents that there is no scientifically sound reason to doubt hormones and surgeries are helpful to minor children. You also discuss this in a document that the potential for removing children from their parents is on the table if they're not providing gender-affirming care. Mr. Secretary, do you think that parents who believe in two genders only should have their children removed from them?
Mr. Secretary, you can answer or respond in writing. Her time has expired.
I can respond very quickly. Congresswoman, I believe in supporting and protecting transgender youth. I believe that they, along with their parents and their caregivers, will make the best decisions. And I would really urge that politicians like you stay out of their business.
I would urge that children get to stay with their parents.
The woman's time has expired. The committee
Mr. Chairman, may I please have unanimous?
No, you can't. No, you may not. We're on a very tight time frame, and there are votes.
いや、皆さん動画どうでしたか？思ったことを母親として強く単刀直入にズバズバ切り込んでいく彼女の姿勢、見ていて気持ちよかったですよね。そもそもこれってありえない話ですよね。彼のようなリベラルな考えを持つ人ってなぜイエスかノーかで答えられる簡単な質問に答えようとしないんですかね。そもそもこういうオフィシャルな場で生物的事実に基づいて話をしないと拉致が開かないと思うんですけどね。生物的学事実って男性女性の2つしか性がないと思うんですけど、そこを無視して話しちゃったらもう拉致が開かないですよね。そんな初歩的な部分で議論が起こってるようでは本質的なものを話すまでに至らないと思うんですよね。だからこそこういうありえない議論が起こっちゃってるって思うんですよね、僕は。ザビエルさんの考え方って結構最近は普通になってきた考え方だと思うんですけど、時の感情によって性別が変わる、もしくは自認性やトランスジェンダーも別の性を自認できる、イコール誰でも女性になれる、イコール誰でも妊娠できるっていう考え方で彼は話を進めてたと思うんですけど、やっぱり僕がさっき言ったように物事にははっきり基準があるべきで、それに沿って話を進めないと混沌とした世の中になっていくと思うんですよね。現にアメリカは学校でさえ性は無限大にあるから囚われなくて大丈夫よっていう考え方をしているみたいなんですね。アメリカほど悪くないにしてもヨーロッパに住んでる僕のところでも性別を書く欄って男性女性太くてでカッコの中に自分の性別を書くっていう欄ができたりしてるんで、やっぱりアメリカの影響って世界中に行くんだなって強く感じますよね。まだ思考が定まっていない子供たちに対して性転換なんていう人生において重大な決断を下させるっていうのはいただけない考え方だと僕は思いますけどね。しかも話を聞いてると国民の税金が使われてるって言ってましたけど、その話はやっぱ信じられなかったですよね。さあ日本には今移民が増えてきてますし、これからも増えていくと思うんですけど、その結果彼らが日本国籍を持って欧米からこういったリベラル的な考え方を持ち込んだ結果、彼らが性転換手術をするためとかそういった手術をするために僕自身の税金が使われるって考えたら嫌ですね。でも彼女は他人の話を遮って自分の話を進めてたんで、ザビエルさんの馬鹿げた理論をもうちょっと聞いてみたい気はしましたけどね、僕は。ではここで現地の声について紹介していきたいと思います。The fact that this is even being debated truly shows how much society has degenerated. Kids can't do too much stuff without their parents' approval, or they can only after a certain age, but they can decide to go through a gender-affirming surgery if they think they need it. Wow. The fact that this man danced around each question says a lot. Love her, we need more bobbers. Can't wait for do men have ovaries? Can men breastfeed? Just imagine a country where discussion in Congress includes the question, can a man get pregnant? Something's very wrong in that country. As a retired registered nurse for 40 years, I can confidently say that men cannot get pregnant, period. 今回はさすがにリベラルな意見にみんな反対しているようですね。最近ニュースで見たんですけど、日本にも LGBT 案が通ったって聞いたんですけど、これ本当ですかね。それがもし本当だとして、このような考え方が議会とか社会に入ってこないようには日本はどうするべきだと思いますかね。ぜひ皆さんの考えをコメント欄で教えてください。では良い一日を。さようなら。